And then we got the fight doctor was talking about integration was the worst. I got to hear this, man.
Anyone who thinks that integration has been good for Black people in this country is seriously deluded and has not been paying attention to history. Listen, before integration, we had things like Black Wall Street, and we had Black Wall Streets all over the country, right? Before we had integration, we had movements like the Nation of Islam before it became corrupted. That was all about self-determination, right? Nation of Islam had their own, they had their own farms, they had their own factories, they had their own stores. They were a self-sufficient operation. They didn't need anything from the dominant culture, right? Before integration, Black people worked together. But since integration, what has happened? You've had the destruction of the Black family. You've had there's no Black Wall Street, right? Yeah, we've got a lot of millionaires, but all of those Negroes, the only thing that they do is when they make the money, they're in a hurry to give it right back, okay, to the dominant culture. Integration has meant that, first of all, why would you want to integrate with something that was meant to destroy you? Is that smart? I mean, as I recall, we were brought over here in chains, and the dominant system that produced the Atlantic slave trade, that system is still in place. And somehow you think that it is intelligent to integrate with that which was meant to destroy you? Is that intelligence? Doesn't seem like it to me. Now, the simple fact of the matter is this, is that Western civilization is built upon a foundation of ignorance. Ignorance. And part of that ignorance is racism. Western civilization is racist to its very core. And it's somehow intelligent to integrate with that which is set up and meant to destroy you, to integrate with that which is biased against you. Every institution of Western civilization is biased against the African, from religion to the so-called educational system to the system of finance. Everything is biased against the African from day one. And it is smart to integrate with that? I don't think so.
All right, let him reply. Go ahead, Reggie.
Fight doctor, I knew you was gonna get on here and sound scripted from a book. You spoke everything that I hear from these books that sound so soothing to people who like to escape into these thoughts of what the system is. Now, when you look at these organizations, Black folks will divide amongst themselves. You can be Muslim, they're gonna hate you because you're Christian. You can identify as being, I looked in this most recent thing people done got on now, Black folks are indigenous Indians, but they beef with whoever considers themselves as Moors. The Israelites divide and have feuds with Moors and the Black Indians and all this other stuff. Those are the divisiveness between us. A lot of times we ain't lived through none of that stuff. We have escaped all this transatlantic shit that you speak of. And then when you speak of the integration, our integration wasn't to live solely up on the white folks. Integration ain't meant to just be up on the white folks. Where you come from has been a place that's been integrated, and then soon it has been assimilated into being a Black community. These Black communities have been divided. Even when you're speaking of the Nation of Islam, the Nation of Islam had an objective of building Black communities, which never got over their struggles. So you were citing a lot of highlighted shit that just sounds so soothing and good that comes up out of books. But when you really speak from the factual standpoints, integration didn't change anything, that nothing changed even before it. Matter of fact, things did change when integration came about. But when things began to change economically in this system, Black folks did not have a plan because we don't pay attention to shit. We don't pay attention to economics. We don't pay attention to the changes. There was a rapid change that happened in this country, and it started off with the outsourcing of many jobs, the automation of jobs. Did we prepare ourselves for the future? No. Even when you look at it today, we don't prepare ourselves for the goddamn future. We don't prepare ourselves for what's coming down the pipeline for shit. because we're so unprepared. We pay too much attention to the ignorant shit that tends to want to be what takes the forefront of lead of the black plight. But those who are intelligent get pushed off to the side, and then we cry when those same intelligent people go elsewhere into others' community where they're appreciated and they apply the science of what's inside their brain to move things forward. So black folks break out of the ignorant side of society, having too much of a voice to push the trends, to push the norms. We get nowhere. And it has nothing to do with white folks. It has everything to do with us, because there's black folks who find high level success. Like Marq was speaking about all the black millionaires, black billionaires. And when you look at them, those are highly intelligent black folks who unfortunately have to cut off a lot of their own people. And that's the damn problem, because a lot of times when you try to do for your people stick you in the fucking back. And it's hard to move forward with them. And it has a lot to do with what's not being taught inside their household. Discipline is one. You go in some of these households, kids are allowed to just rip, run, do what the hell they want without being told shit. And the minute that a man sits and tell these kids to sit down, he's abusive. He's mean. He's too strict. We need to get away because we want to be undisciplined, hyper than a motherfucker, ADD, attention deficit disorder ass people. And that's the problem with us. Ain't got shit to do with integration, because when we integrate, we turn those communities into black communities. And what are they now? Chiracs and shit. So all that book talk shit sounds cool. Now a lot of people do it. But once again, all this talk of what integration was and wasn't about it being bad is one of the biggest falsehoods that black folks speak on. But I know when people talk about integration, they're gonna get on here and talk a lot of shit they read out of a book. From let me not knock it, because there's a lot of prolific guys who speak on this, and I see where their mindsets are coming from, but it's not true about integration not being a good thing. Because it's funny when we look at this gentrification shit, and I'm not going to be long when I'm going to pass it over. This gentrification shit, and it's funny how others can come into our communities that we turn into hoods. They move right into this shit, and things rapidly begin to change. You know why? Because of mindset. And just like somebody put in there about the mindsets of Nigerians when they come over here. A lot of these immigrants can come over here when they put their communities in check. And they're here for a mission. We ain't in here to play around. I've worked with a damn African dude. And one thing I've always remembered, this has been decades ago, because we used to always clown. We used to clown him. And he was talking about, because he's in school. He said, y'all so disrespectful, you black people, so disrespectful. The teacher sits here and put together lessons, all this preparation to put together lessons, and they have to grade, and you guys don't turn in assignments, you don't do homework, and you guys take it for granted. You take everything for granted. He's like, that's the biggest problem with you. And that is, we don't value this education shit. We too worried about what brands we wear, what we look like, what chick we fucking. We too caught up in cool shit, way too much, and we unfocused. We attention deficit like a motherfucker. But that's my thoughts.
Right, because we kind of went from Deontay Wilder, because we was talking about the Wilder fans.
Yeah,
and a lot of people pumping the race narrative. So for the people, I got you. For the people who are just tuning in, yeah, we're gonna close out on that, but we did kind of go a little off beyond the pale a little bit. But go ahead, Fight Doctor. Doctor believes integration was a terrible thing. Reggie Owens disagrees. So we're having a little mini debate here. Go ahead, Fight Doctor.
Yeah, 90% of what he just said makes no sense. It's not based on any fact. Fact is, prior to integration, a lot of the problems that we see in the black community did not exist. The problem with having children out of wedlock, the current crisis with drugs, the current crisis with these single family households, all of this wasn't going on prior to integration. It didn't exist. And again, like I said, prior to integration, we were doing business amongst ourselves. We had several black Wall Streets throughout the country. We don't have that now. Yes, we have black millionaires, but these black millionaires are basically black people. Their blackness is skin deep, okay, because they don't live amongst the community. They don't do business with the community. They are essentially white people who just have money and look black, but they're not amongst us. They don't benefit the community. All right. And if you look at the state of black people, things are getting progressively worse since integration, right? A lot of these conditions that we have nowadays. When you look at how the graduation rates among high school age kids, that rate is going down and has been going down since integration. All right. Prior to integration, we didn't have these problems with education. Now, we were being miseducated then as we are now, but prior to integration, it was not to the extent that it is now. Nowhere near. Integration, very bad idea for Black folks, okay? Lots of data to prove to back this up, okay? The main problem with integration is, again, like I said, you're integrating with a system that was set up to destroy you. That's not intelligent. There's nothing intelligent about that. And we've had lots of teachers to come before us to validate exactly what I'm saying. Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, okay? Marcus Garvey was not an integrationist. Neither was Malcolm X. Even after Malcolm X went to Mecca and came back and renounced racism, he was not an integrationist. He wasn't, because it didn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Why would you want to integrate with that which is set up to destroy you? That's ignorance.
Who destroyed Marcus Garvey, by the way? I'm glad you brought his name up.
The system destroyed Marcus Garvey.
No, his people destroyed him.
So, once again, you have a situation where you have sellouts. Yes? Now, Malcolm X essentially was destroyed by the system. Now, a Black man pulled the trigger, yes. But it was the system that destroyed Malcolm X.
Nah, can't get past. We ain't gonna just bump over the trigger, man.
You love these excuses, bro. You love these damn excuses. And I knew you was going. You're not the only one. It's common.
But at the end of the day, Marcus Garvey was not an integrationist. He wasn't. Neither was Malcolm X.
Even with those beliefs, and even with Malcolm X's belief, their own people killed him.
And they were both smarter than you. Trust.
And their own people killed them. And that's the way I look at these stories.
But again, they were not integrationist. They were both smarter than you.
Like I said, their own people killed them, bro.
Okay,
it ain't about look. And this is even what Malcolm said.
And do you want to know why? Because Negroes love the white man more than they love themselves. Negroes want to be close to the white man, okay? Want to call themselves by the white man's name, want to practice the white man's religion, which again is another system set up to destroy you. But then when you get a Black man who has an idea, we should separate from these systems that are set up to destroy us. We should go back to our original state. We should practice our original religions. We should call ourselves by our original names. We should speak our original language. We should think our original thoughts.
Bro,
they kill them
shit.
Niggas. And
bro,
here it is. You want to integrate with the system that empowers these house Negroes who destroy the Black people, who are telling you exactly what it is that you need to do.
Right, Doctor, let me get some clarity, because we already integrated. So we
exactly.
Can't go, so are you saying we should go back to, we should be segregated again? Is that what you're telling me right here?
So what I'm saying is this.
I just kind of want a brief yes or no on that before you start. Start with a yes or no and then go into it. Are you telling me
everything is not black and white?
So you can't tell me. No, you're not saying that.
What I'm saying is this. Follow the George Clinton.
Before you start, let me say this. I've been very generous with you as far as letting you speak very long, uninterrupted. This is a time right here where before I lose the audience and I lose this right here, I need you to answer this, because what you're saying in your soliloquy here, you keep saying you want to integrate with that, these people that did that. And now, but this time I heard you say something very significant. You said, why can't we have our original language and tongue? Are you saying now in 2021, we should start having a plan to segregate? Or I think that's okay. No,
that's not.
All right, there you go. Okay, go ahead.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it is time to implement the George Clinton philosophy, which is to free your mind, and then your ass will follow. And freeing your mind is to start thinking like your ancestors. Okay, listen, your ancestors are the one who created Western civilization in the first place. They laid the foundation. Western civilization is a perversion of something that belonged to you in the first place. So instead of thinking in ass backwards terms, which is what the Western civilized mind does, think in terms of the great civilizations that gave rise to Western civilization in the first place. That's what I'm saying. That's what Malcolm X was saying. That's what people like Marcus Garvey was saying. Okay? But what Mr. Owens is saying is to think in ass backwards terms by being integrated, by integrating with that which is set to destroy you, to integrate with that which is ass backwards from the very beginning. That doesn't make sense. Okay? That's not what thinking people do.
And here you go with this book read mindset without thinking. All that shit you said was ass backwards. And I'm about to ruin you on your point. When you spoke about us having all these things before integration, Black folks didn't have shit. We didn't start going into home ownership until segregation began. And all segregation is about tearing down these restrictive laws into access to being able to buy homes. So real
integration.
Yeah, and integration. Real home ownership came in integration. Before that, Black folks just rented. And most of them rented from white landlords. So therefore, your point is mute on that shit. When we start buying into these new communities we moved into, the ownership of business and the dealings of business was through Black ownership. That shit began to become lost towards the latter part of the 70s. And that's where we lost it. And also the mindsets of Black folks became lost. So you have lost many points by reciting shit from books. And then you speaking of if we had our own language. Having a old ancient language doesn't change anything. Even if you knew it, it doesn't help you go anywhere. We have many of these old civilizations that still speak their native language. And their language hasn't got them anywhere. If you don't develop as a society, you keep knocking Western society. Sometimes you have to learn from those who are ahead and more advanced, because the world ain't moving backwards. There's many countries who aren't advanced who people suffered. China had to pull themselves up out of funk. And many people look at China currently. China lived in old ancient ass ways, and it got itself up within the last 30 years. Why? Because it implemented a few Western things into it. And that's some of the shit that can really help African nations. So all this caught up in thinking this shit is just being against white people, you got shit fucked up. Because there's certain things you can learn without functioning and acting like them. Learning mathematics, the English language, how to deal in business is all rudimented in motherfucking success. You too caught up because you have a fear of white folks that you think anything of behaving a certain way is white, and you're lost in delusion with that shit. And nothing's wrong with integrating. If people find peace and happiness and friendship is someone who don't look like them, then that's cool, because you ain't gonna always find peace and happiness in someone who looks like you. And sometimes you may have to fucking watch your back from someone who look like you. So you pick and choose your battles. But I think the key is for Black folks to develop, because even before you talked about integration, Black folks came from fucked up schools that were underfunded, didn't provide them shit. You know what you got in these segregated towns you come from? Old outdated books from white folks, schools that didn't have anything, overcrowded, kids who were malnourished, not fully fed. These are the things you got during segregation, this separate but equal bullshit they come up with, which didn't provide you any resources. So when Black folks got the opportunity to move the hell up out of there, they found better. And they ain't just do it to get to white folks. They found it better because of the futures of their children depended on it. And they strive for a moment, and then Black folks got into celebrating and got lost. That's what it is. You reading back in the 1940s books and all that shit, you live in a modern age. The key is education and developing yourself, advancing, not talking about language. A lot of you cats get caught up on the ancestor talking shit. All that shit sounds good, but speaking old ancestor language, if it was that important, they would have kept it back then. And it wasn't just stolen from them. And history wasn't stolen. This is the other shit that people like to empower white people all the time. Y'all love talking this white shit all the time. Y'all like talking white shit so much that y'all call them supreme and all this other dumb shit. White folks didn't steal your history and none of that. You did. You lost and stole your own history because you refused to talk about it because you've been caught up in so much other shit. Black folks will lose family history in about 2 or 3 generations. We move across. You see that shit happening now. A lot of kids don't know shit about their history. You can move clean across the country to some other shit. never see family again. History become lost. A lot of people won't talk about where they come from with their children. So children have no knowledge of where they come from. They just think it's about mom and dad and whoever is auntie and cousins. And that's about it. And these may not be biological, and they may hear nothing about grandma, grandpa, or those before that. We lose our own history, and we see it done rapidly. It didn't take white folks.
Hey man, I gotta right. Some people don't even know bodies are buried. Can't even tell you where the cemetery is.
Exactly, bro.
Where's your grandmama buried at in the South? Like, yeah, she from Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. You don't know what cemetery. You couldn't walk into the and go to a grave site right now and say that's my grandma or my great or whoever, like with your ancestor. That's crazy. But didn't mean to cut you off. I'm so sorry.
No. That was my point right there. Like we lose our own shit, but we give everything to white folks. If it goes bad with black people, it's the white man. No, nigga, it's us. Go ahead, Troy.
Yeah, I want to step in, and I heard both sides and all that, but it all boils down to having a plan. All this other stuff about who did what and who shot John, that don't matter. If you don't have a plan and you don't have the self the power to follow through on that plan, that might take years, which it will, because nothing is built in a short amount of time, right? It takes time to build something great because it took time to actually lose your greatness. So you have to plan for years and years and years to actually get your greatness back. It's not going to happen overnight. And all this conversation back and forth about segregation and everything else, it doesn't matter. You need a plan. Just need a plan, and it starts with a few. As you know, Reggie, because I'm here listening to you talk. You are sharp as the tip of a diamond. As you know, it starts with a few. Once those few go through the struggle and start building, they'll catch the eyes of some more, right? And then you school those more who have the same mindset of you, and it keeps going. And that's how you build. The rest of this stuff about the rest of this, rigmarole and about XYZ, that don't matter. It doesn't matter.
Facts.
One last point I need to address.
But we super behind still though in the average family wealth race, about race from 63 to 2019. I'm looking at this study right here. This is BBC.com. We super behind in that. But even all the things they point out from the 60s to now, since George Floyd's untimely murder, I guess I was going to say demise, but it was a murder. I'm looking here and I'm like, these are things that should be granted to you as a citizen anyway. Jobs, college attending, poverty. Yeah, you should be making more money in 2019. All of us should, but we are still behind. But go ahead, Fight Doctor. You got the floor.
So Mr. Owens made a point of bringing up that I'm repeating points that I read in a book. And this underscores the problem with integration and with the integrated mind. Because if I'm repeating something I read that I got out of a book, that implies that I actually read, meaning I'm educating myself. Negroes who don't read, that's the slave mentality, right? Because when you were on the plantation, they didn't allow you to read. And the same slave mentality is prevalent today because apparently there's something wrong with reading. Oh, you're repeating stuff that you read out of a book as if that's the wrong thing to do. Well, if you're a slave, then yes, I would agree. Reading, educating yourself is a bad thing when you're a slave because a slave master can't have you doing that. No, nigga. You're not supposed to read no book. Just believe what I tell you, nigga. Okay? Yeah, we're going to integrate you, nigga. But don't read no books. Okay? Because we don't want you thinking. We want you to do what we tell you to do. Integrate, stay in your corner, be a good Negro, but don't read any books. Okay? Don't read any books because we want you to stay brain dead. That's what brain dead people do. They don't read. Okay? So yes, I read. I'm proud of the fact that I read. That's how I learn. That's the reason why I'm not brain dead. I'm not a slave. Okay? That's the reason why I don't have a slave mentality. That's the reason why I know my history because I read. I'm off the plantation. Okay? I don't have a slave mentality because I read. I know who I am. I suggest the Negroes who find a problem with reading, okay, open a good book and implement the George Clinton philosophy. Free your mind so your ass will follow, okay? Because when you're free, you're no longer a slave. Come up off the plantation.
And while you reading those books, because you still stuck in that rut of dealing with that, the world is still speeding along and moving ahead. So I would advise, if I'm talking education, I got nothing wrong with reading. As a matter of fact, on my page, I think I was doing reading segments, which I'll get back to, but my kids are in school and the focus with them is ensuring their homework is done right. So like if I'm talking pushing education, why would I be against reading? But I'm saying the type of literature you're reading and where it has you in a mindset, it has you twisted and backwards and has you caught up into where you feel like that you have allowed so many white people to step on the back of your neck without standing up to those individuals you face in life, that you're speaking and spewing a lot of the stories. And I guarantee you, in your personal life, you probably never dealt with these racial incidents that you have picked up from these books and you let this race shit affect you. Now, if you have experienced this racial shit in your life, I'd like to hear a story and how you dealt with it. Or did you run off crying about it being these people are just so damn racist and nothing I can do? Well, my experiences ain't the same as that because I've checked white people even in the current job I work at, and they know where I come from. I don't have to double talk. I don't have to trot around and be some different individual. I'm Black. My company knows I'm Black, and I work with white companies, and everywhere I go, I'm myself. But do I walk around acting militant and all that shit? No, I'm myself. The way I act around Black folks is the same way I act around white folks. And a lot of Black folks think they got to switch up because those are the biggest slaves. Black folks who want to act righteous and shit and rah, 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 and all this other stuff have a fear of white folks. Now, when you start to advance yourself, then that's when things change. Can't no white person hold that shit back. Can't none. And Black folks who have this level of success who don't think in this mindset, every white person ain't your enemy. And that's the mindset you got to develop, regardless of that old ancient history and shit. You got to stump past that shit. When you got bigots in your way, you knock these fucking bigots the fuck over. You knock the shit out of them. You make them second guess to ever disrespect you.
How old are you?
And Black folks, go ahead. I want to hear you.
Question. How old are you?
I'm in my 40s, man.
You're in your 40s. Okay.
Go ahead. What you had something to say? Are you shocked that I'm 40?
Yeah, actually, I am. I'll be 50 in a few months, so I've got some years on you, right? So I'm actually surprised that you're in your 40s because you sound like you're in your 20s, to be completely honest. But I'm not surprised because, unfortunately, there are still a lot of us out here who suffer from the westernized mind mentality. Because everything that you've been saying so far has been shallow and nonsensical, to be completely honest, and not backed up with any relevant facts. You made a comment earlier that Black people didn't have anything before integration, which is totally and completely false. We had Black Wall Street. We had several Black Wall Streets all across the country. But you don't take the time, okay, to read some of these ancient history books so you can know something about your history. The only thing you know is what your former slave master, what your current slave master tells you. And you swallow it hook, line, and sinker because you never took the time to figure out exactly who you are and where you come from. There's an old saying, you don't know where you're going unless you know where you've been. Okay? You don't know where you're going unless you know where you've been. And that's the fact of the matter. Trust. So what you need to do is open a book, a good book, all right, and fill your head full of good information. Start with history. Understand your history, where you come from, and you'll stop making these stupid, silly comments that you've been making. Because honestly, I'm surprised I'm hearing this from somebody in their 40s because it don't make no sense. It don't make a lick of sense. And you done had plenty of teachers who've come before you and have explained to you everything you need to know. Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X are just two of them, but there are many, many more. Right? And what you're saying is 100% at odds with what they say.
Bro,
Now,
that's what they say.
You ain't got to take my word for it. All you got to do is go back and read what they said for themselves. Okay.
But listen, everything they say, this is what I said. When those folks died, black folks didn't implement none of that shit. I have listened to everything they've stated. And that's why I've always dealt with racial issues in my personal life. Like I asked you earlier, you speaking all this shit like you part of the old age Panthers. What expenses have you dealt with racism and how have you handled them? Because I guarantee you, the way I hear niggas cry, I don't have those complaints because I've always dealt with checking white folks. And many people have always thought I was racist because of the way I've handled it. But I'm far from racist. And a lot of them get fooled when they find out how cool I am. Now, when it comes to shit, you live in a modern goddamn age. I haven't heard you speak of one thing about advancing us. All I hear you talking about reading these old books and Western society. Well, Western society is where it's at, homie. I don't know what other society you talking about trying to follow because we live in an advanced age. All that other shit you want to go back to will put you way behind the curve that you're already in.
Do you know who
problem with us?
Do you know who Fela Kuti is?
What is Fela Kuti gonna do in this modern age? Tell me about that.
Question. The question is, do you know who Fela Kuti is?
No, I'm gonna tell you no, so you can explain who they are, so I can see if they're relevant to this modern age.
Fela Kuti is the James Brown of Africa. You should look him up. Okay. Fela Kuti is the father of Afrobeat. All right. You should look him up and you should read and you should know something about his story. All right. Because Fela Kuti is very relevant. Very relevant. And what he said was Western civilization is built upon a foundation of ignorance. And you know what? He was right. That's something you should know. You should know who Fela Kuti is, right? You should know about some of your heroes, black heroes, right? But see, when you go to school, look, I went to an all-white high school. So where racism is concerned,
you just solved my damn problem. You let them pick on you. You let them pick on you, and now you're bitter because you didn't stand up to them. Let me hear this shit.
So you know my story better than I do. That's fine. Listen, dude, you can think what you want to think, but I understand who the misguided is. The misguided one is between us. Trust, okay? But above and beyond that, the problem is, see, you don't even know who your own heroes are. I have to explain to you who Fela Kuti is. You should know who Fela Kuti is, but you don't. Why? Because you have been integrated. You suffer from the colonized mind. You don't know who you are. You are still on the plantation. Not physically, worse, mentally. You are still in chains.
Wait, time out, doctor.
You don't know who you are. You don't know where you come from. You know who Christopher Columbus is, but you don't know who Fela Kuti is. That's a problem.
Wait, let me laugh at this real quick. You talk all this integration shit, and you lived in the most integrated shit in this Western world. You're delusional, dude. You're delusional. You grew up around nothing but white folks. What are you talking about? Don't come to this new age shit. You sound just like Fred to me. Don't come to this new age shit. You grew up around white folks, and now you trying to talk this integration shit.
First, I didn't
stop it, bro.
I said I went to all-white high school. There's a difference. Learn how to listen.
Oh, that's even worse. So you left a black community to go into a white school. So what was that about?
Learn how to listen.
What was that about? I'm listening.
Learn how to listen. That's the first thing. Okay. Now, second thing is going to an all-white high school. When I actually lived in an all-white community, I learned something. I learned something about Western civilization. I learned something about race in America. Okay. I learned something about integration. I learned a lot of things. All right. And sometimes that's what needs to happen so that you can learn from experience. Experience is the best teacher. I have years on you, so I have more experience than you do. Trust. Okay. And above and beyond that, I have credible sources who back what I say and speak 180 degrees of the nonsense you talking. Now, let's talk about Martin Luther King, right? Martin Luther King's last speech, which I'm sure you've never read, okay, because you don't know anything about your own history, all right? But in Martin Luther King's last speech, he says, I quote, "I fear that we have integrated with a burning house." Okay? Okay? The name of the speech is Why America May Go to Hell. That is the name of the last speech that he wrote. And in it, Martin Luther King says he fears that we may have integrated with a burning house. The reason why I know that is because, see, I read old books. Okay? And I actually know something about Black history and Black people and our place and where we come from. I'm not some house Negro repeating the stuff that the slave master implanted in my mind. I actually learned how to think for self. That is what we were about prior to integration, thinking for self, self-determination, which is the reason why we had things like Black Wall Street. Why? Because we were intent to do for self and not accept the handout from the slave master, which is what integration is. Okay? You are accepting a handout. Master, sir, please give me my freedom, sir. Okay? Can I sit on the front of your bus, Mr. Master? No. Why do I want to sit on the front of your bus? Why do I want to integrate with you? I can just have my own. That's how you get to be equal. When you have your own shit instead of asking to integrate with someone else's shit. Think. That's what you integrated Negroes can't seem to learn how to do. Add 1 and 1 is 2.
Wait, time out. Fine, doctor, let me say this. You come from the most integrated shit, and here you are trying to speak some old Black Panther shit. Now, you lived in a white neighborhood, you've been treated like shit, and you were silent about it. Now, once you become of age as an adult, you want to talk all this righteous shit and speak against a society you come from. But a society you chose or your parents chose to put you in, that you didn't grow up around Black folks, but you reached this age to where you've been rejected by white folks. I'm pretty sure if I knew who you were and looked at you, you were one of these, what we'll probably term as an Oreo or whatnot, that you went into trying to seek the good grace of white people until you had your Negro moment, right? And now you want to be righteous and all that shit. No, you got around some fucked up individuals who make you feel this way. But I guarantee you, you weren't always skipping to this drum beat.
Let me know when you're finished. You done?
I'm done. You hear me? I don't go long with it. I pause where you go.
You were done before you start talking, to be completely honest, because everything you said makes less than no sense. Okay? There's only one of us who makes sense, and everyone who's listening knows who that person is. Trust. You know who that person is.
It's you, Fight Doctor, sure. It's you, brother.
Because, dude, you haven't made a lick of sense, and you are not making any sense. None. Because your mind is still trapped. You are still with this integrated nonsense. You are still on the plantation. And look, if you wish to live on the plantation, that's fine. You go right ahead. Stay on the plantation.
But Fight Doctor, let me ask you this question. Because you
let me finish. You stay on the plantation. Us runaways, we're gonna get away and we're gonna do our own thing. So you can stay under the whip or in the house, because you might be a house Negro. Okay. But us runaways, we gonna get away from that nonsense. We're not gonna live up under the whip. No, we're not doing it. We're gonna get away and we're gonna have our own. And we're gonna do our own thing. And we're not gonna integrate. We're not gonna do it. Why? Because we don't want to live up underneath the whip anymore. Because that's what integration is: living under the whip.
All right, question for you. Where are you from, by the way?
I'm from Chicago.
All right, so and where did you live in Chicago?
I live on the South Side.
And what school did you go to out there?
What difference does that make? It's all the same.
No, it does make a difference because you stated you went to an all-white school, so that's what it means. So I want to know that you live in an all-white community in Chicago as well.
There are no all-white communities. Well, I'm sorry.
Yes, there are. Chicago is one of the most segregated damn cities in this country.
There are no all-white communities on the. Well, actually, there are all-white communities on the South Side, but not many.
Many. So no, you dancing around it. So you were one of the. There was a few Black folks in the neighborhood you come from, right?
No, the community that I come from was all Black. Now, I grew up in a community called Auburn Grisham on Chicago's South Side. right next door to Inglewood. That's where I grew up.
And it was predominantly black. Your neighbors are all black, right?
Where I grew up, yes, it was all
All right.
black.
So you went to an all white school though, right?
We moved to an all white suburb, and I went to North
Oh,
Public School.
let me hear more of that. So when did you live in this Inglewood neighborhood? You must have been a very young kid, and there's a reason why you left to go integrate with white folks, right? Let me hear that, because I know how to dig right into folks who talk like you. Let me hear that.
I just explained to you. What else do you need to know? My social security number. You need a blood. You need a
No,
stool
no,
sample.
I don't want you to leave out these holes because I identify who you were because I can read profiles of people when they speak that I got you. So now you left your neighborhood and you moved into a white suburb.
Wait,
Let me hear that.
First of all, let's get something straight. I didn't do anything. Okay, I was too young to do
Your
anything.
parents did it for you. Let me hear this.
Exactly. Okay, I didn't do anything. Now, as an adult, I do things. As an adult, I live in an all black community.
No, but let's go back into this childhood thing where your parents moved you into this white community.
First of all, that was then. This is now. Now that is my background. Now,
Checkmate. Checkmate. Let's move to boxing. Checkmate.
Listen. Look, if you wish to live on Fantasy Island, who am I to bust your bubble? You go right ahead. But again, like I said, one of us is on the plantation still, one of us isn't. And I think everyone who's listening can determine between the two of us who is on the plantation, who isn't. Right? So you stay living underneath the whip. You go right ahead. You wish to be integrated? You go right ahead. It's a free country.
You live integration for us, Fight Doctor. Let's move on, man. Checkmate, man. Checkmate.
I choose to be one of the runaways. That's what I choose to do. Okay.
I figured you out, man.
Stay on the plantation with your ragged clothes and the scraps of food that fall off the slave master's table. You must be happy. It must be delicious. You go and you eat that. Okay. You eat
Fight Doctor, man. I ought to be an FBI agent. I'm great at profiling people and figured you out. I'm sorry. Okay, Mark, we can move to boxing.
Listen. Well, I understand why you wish to change the topic because your ass is getting roasted. Okay.
Fight Doctor. No, I'm not. You just revealed to us who you are, which what I've been telling you are.
Yeah.
You're a kid who comes from living in white society, and now you want to reject it all of a sudden.
First of all, every black person in America lives in a white society. That should be painfully obvious to anyone paying attention, but apparently you aren't.
We live in an integrated society. I don't believe in white folks just dominating shit. Come on, bro.
Well, if you don't believe white people are dominating, then obviously you're not paying attention because they've been dominating for the last 500 years. Ask the Native Americans who've been dominating. Okay? See, this is the problem. You apparently don't know anything about history. You don't know nothing about your own history. Okay? Because if you did, I wouldn't have to tell you who Fela Kuti is. Because you
nobody know Fela Kuti, man. You talking somebody from Africa who's James Brown over there.
No.
Like, stop it, dude.
You don't know who Fela Kuti is. Don't say nobody, okay? Unless you are nobody, and I'm inclined to believe that. But you don't know who Fela Kuti is. Us educated Negroes, we know who Fela Kuti is. Why? Because we pay attention. We read because we've come off the plantation and we've accepted.
Can I ask you a question real quick? I just want to ask a quick question. As far as this Fela Kuti, why is he so important in the first place? What's his important to people over here? Because you said he was a James Brown in Africa. Why would that be important to people in America? Why?
Because he was also an activist. That's why. He was an activist.
Yeah, you're right. But he was an activist in Africa for his own people. Again, I'm going to go back to why would he be important over here? How could he help us over here? Well, because those are the questions you're gonna. No, hold on a second. Those are the realistic questions that people will ask you when you bring his name up. So I'm just gonna jump in and ask you myself.
Why is Fela Kuti? Because first and foremost, listen. At the end of the day, I can't speak for you, but I can speak for myself. I consider myself to be a kidnapped African. So, what is relevant to African people on the continent is relevant, should be relevant to African people here. Just like what's relevant to African people here should be relevant to African people on the continent. That's why Fela Kuti is important, because the same conditions that we face here are identical to the ones that the brothers and sisters on the continent face there. Identical, the same problem. That's why Fela Kuti is important, because we are all trapped in the same condition, or no, I want to say trapped. We are all combating the same condition.
Can you spell Fela Kuti's name for me? Because I think I may know who you're talking about, but you delusional as shit. But can you spell Fela Kuti's name for me?
So I need to spell Fela Kuti's name for you, but I'm delusional. You can't spell. So I'm delusional, but you can't spell. Is that what you're trying to? Is that what you're saying?
No, that's a hard name to spell, though. That is a hard name to spell.
Well,
like, that ain't Robert.
If Mr. Owens knew anything about his language, because English ain't your language, Negro.
English is my language, bro. And English language don't stop you from advancing. People harp on that dumb shit that they stole our language and now we can't advance and learn shit. Like, stop that stupid shit. Language don't stop you from learning. Language doesn't stop you from advancing in mathematics. It doesn't stop you from advancing in this computer age shit. So get up off of that hang up. You grew up in a white neighborhood. They rejected you, and now you on this black pipe shit.
First and foremost, I didn't say anything about the English language holding back anybody. That's what you say, because that's how you think.
But Fela Kuti, I need to spell his name. I think I know what you're talking about, though. Can you spell it for me, please?
If I'm so stupid, why are you asking me how to spell?
I'm not asking you how to spell. It's an African name. I don't know this.
Of course, because you don't know anything about where you come from, Negro, because you were still on the plantation where you don't read.
I come from South Central Los Angeles. Now, people before me may have come from there.
Is the plantation where you at right now, where you refuse to read? Because if you knew anything about your language, then you would know how to spell Fela Kuti.
Everybody's from a different tribe, though, Fight Doctor. So, the languages are different.
Fight Doctor, do you know how to spell it or not, man? Because this is kind of getting embarrassing. I'm reading the chat.
F-E-L-A, Fela Kuti, K-U-T-I.
Wait, say that one more time.
Oh, damn. Here we go. F-E-L-A, Fela Kuti, K-U-T-I. See, I know this because I know something about my language. I know something about my people. I know something about my point of origin. I know
exactly who this guy is. I know who this guy is. I just never knew his name, but he is of no significance over here. Sorry, buddy.
Well, he's of no significance to you because you are still on the plantation. The minute you bring your ass off the plantation,
can we get back to boxing, man?
Yeah. Let's get back to
Carlton Banks and the Daishiki. Get the fuck out.
And the minute
that is a great. Oh, that's actually great.
Right, Doctor, let me ask you this though.
Yes, sir.
Because I've been quiet and I've been listening. Low key, man. I ain't gonna lie. I made a sandwich and everything. This has been entertaining.
Made a sandwich.
Man, I made a sandwich real quick.
Man, I'll tell you, get back to boxing after I got him in the checkmate.
But I couldn't know. I was in the kitchen. I heard you in here on the speakers, but I couldn't. I was too far away from the phone. Plus, he had some more rebuttals. Fight Doctor. I'm looking at the chat, and this gonna be a clip of his own. Fight Doctor. I'm gonna let you know. I'm gonna have to drop this one as a little Brit because this You say you know your language and you know your culture and all this stuff, but at the end of the day, how is you knowing it helping everybody else? What are you doing with that other than arguing with Reggie on the Marq Nash show? Like, what are you doing with all that information?
Once again, George Clinton, free your mind, your ass will follow. And the problem is that there are still too many Negroes who are on the plantation mentally, spiritually. Okay, you go to church, worship the slave master's religion. Okay, you worship the slave master's God, call yourself by the slave master's name, you speak the slave master's religion, and you know everything about the slave master's history, but you know nothing about yourself. Nothing. And you want to be integrated and you want to be equal. How does that work?
What are you doing to liberate the people? That's what I'm asking you, sir.
You can lead a horse to water. So I can't liberate the people. I can liberate myself. I can do that. But I can't liberate the people. People have to liberate themselves.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
But how
okay.
did they
Well,
get the information? If you got the information, why you ain't out here giving them the information? Fight, doctor.
Listen, anyone who asks, okay, I'm more than willing to share all the information that I know. Okay, but at the end of the day, you can lead a horse to water. All right. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And unfortunately,
wow.
most black folks are still on the plantation.
You got a
Like Mr.
job?
Owens, for instance.
You got a job?
Mr. Nash.
Yeah, he's the master of
Mr. Nash.
cliches.
Hold up. I'm just asking. You got a job or you work for yourself?
No, I do both.
Stop this shit, man.
I just want to say something real quick to Fight Doctor. I'm not being a wise ass. You have to be careful with words because, see, you said so many times on here that you're still on the plantation when you were talking to Reggie, right? Now, you have to be careful when you say that because that means that you were on the plantation as well.
Well,
When you tell someone that you're still on the
if
plantation,
you were listening,
that means no. Let me finish. Let me finish. If you're telling someone that they were on a plantation, that also means that you were there as well. You understand me?
if you were
You use the
listening,
word "still on a plantation," which
and
means
if
you
you
were
were,
on there,
and
and then
if
you
you were
left, and you
listening,
believe this man
and
is still on there.
and if you were
Just
listening,
why
you would
don't
have
you just
heard me
get to your
say,
point? I guess I'm just trying to be real cool and
if
say,
you
get
were
to your point,
listening,
please.
if you were listening, you would have heard me say he's on the plantation mentally, just like you are, still on the plantation
But
mentally.
you say that to me all the time. It doesn't matter because it's not. I'm
And
not
it
having a
doesn't matter because
conversation
you're
with
happy
you.
living on a plantation, okay? And if you're happy,
Absolutely,
listen, and if you're
absolutely,
happy, I
absolutely.
know. And if you're happy living on a plantation, listen, who am I? Who am I? Okay?
So
Who am I?
why do you work on the plantation though, Fight Doctor, in this Western world?
I don't work on a plantation.
But,
Hold up. I'm about to choke on this. Fight, doctor. I asked you, did you have a job? You say you work a job and you own your own business.
That's right.
Okay.
He owns a McDonald's.
I just had to ask now.
McDonald's is very lucrative.
But
right?
but
That's my point.
Anyone who owns a
But hold-
McDonald's is making a lot of money.
hold up, but that's
But
not.
stupid,
Hold up, but
silly
you don't own a
Negroes
McDonald's.
don't
Hold
understand
up,
that.
Fight Doctor. You franchise a McDonald's, and that's a white company, and like it sounds like you know you can't just serve the black folks at the McDonald's, right? The integration shit that you talking about, like it can't be a black only McDonald's. That shit ain't gonna fly. You ain't gonna make no money.
Checkmate. Get over here, man.
Every day is Black History Month at your McDonald's, Fight Doctor.
Okay. Listen, look, look. At the end
Well,
of the
he
day,
got a rebuttal. Don't stutter the rebuttal, man. Don't stutter the rebuttal.
it's so funny. You know, it would be funny if it weren't so
Fight
sad.
Doctor, I love you, bro. Look, I love Fight Doctor on the show like I like watching World Star. I just like what I'm gonna get when he come on the show. You never know. This shit is entertainment for me. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm a fan of the show myself, and I'm the host. Go ahead, Fight Doctor. I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead. Love him.
McDonald's is beside the point. The point is to generate income, to have your own business, to have your own. That's the point. That's what these two house Negroes don't understand.
That's what integration was about, dude.
And McDonald's is the epitome of Western society.
I agree,
like Disneyland. Like
I agree, it is. That's the reason why I don't own one, because I'm not down for that.
But
at the end of the day, we had Black Wall Street, and there was nothing integrated about that. All right, it was black people doing business amongst themselves and prospering.
We established that, but what's the 2021 plan? And I keep asking you, do you want to go backwards to it?
I told you, George Clinton.
You keep talking. You keep bringing up a song lyric when somebody asks you to plan. That ain't gonna work when we go to Congress. That ain't gonna work when we get the people together and say, "Hey, this is what we're gonna do."
But that's
it's a good slogan. It's catchy, but you haven't given any fundamental plan or any kind of structure. You just giving me a cool slogan for a T-shirt.
So
free your mind and your ass to follow. I get
exactly.
it. Clap.
See,
but
and here's the problem.
Where's the plan, though, my brother?
Here's the problem, right? Here's the problem. You cannot put the cart before the horse. Before you can understand calculus, you must first master simple arithmetic. Now, black people haven't even gotten to the arithmetic part yet. You have to free your mind first before you can talk about doing all this extra.
So we got to wait for that to happen for you to even tell us the plan.
Before you can comprehend calculus, you must first understand simple arithmetic. It's simple.
Maybe some people
It's
out
simple.
there, they understand
Now-
it. They
now
already
listen.
there. So
Now-
maybe
now, to
hearing
answer
you
your
tell
question-
the plan, they can put it in
To answer
action.
your
There you go.
question.
Okay,
To
fair
answer
enough.
your
Go.
question.
Let's go.
There are people a lot smarter than me who have already detailed exactly what we need to do. One of them is a brother named Dr. Claude Anderson, and he's written a book that explains exactly what Black people need to do, all right, to secure their economic future. I forget the name of the book, but his name is Dr. Claude Anderson. Much smarter than me, and he has a very succinct and eloquent answer to your question. I suggest you look him up.
That was a long way of saying I don't have it. Read this book, my brother.
I already
But-
told you.
You
I
keep
already
saying
told you. Listen, I tell you.
What did I say earlier? He has no answers. Everything he feeds off of comes out of some book he read.
but can't,
That's because,
but
because
you
I
can't.
read.
But he can't
unlike
spit it
the
out though.
Negroes who are
But
still on the
he knows
plantation.
it's
I
in the
actually
book,
read.
but he don't know it. He
gotta
knows it's
find
in
the
the book
page.
somewhere, but he don't know it. He can't spit it out.
I can articulate it just fine. All right.
Wait, we've
His
been
answers got to
asking
come
for
from a
it.
page.
Okay.
He ain't got
All
the
right, so
book
then-
Or
with
maybe
him.
he's doing
So
the
then I'll be
Googles.
more. All
Maybe,
right, so then I'll be more
maybe
than
he
happy to
doing his
articulate.
Googles.
I'll be more than happy to articulate
Yeah,
the
he's
answer
slow
to the
on them
question.
Googles.
All right?
That's the problem.
So
Go ahead.
here's what Black people need to do. All right. First thing you need to do is learn your history. That's the first thing. Okay. You need to separate yourself spiritually, mentally, all right, from that which oppresses you, which means this whole idea of integration is a bad idea. Stop. Now, I'm not saying that integration means we should all pack up and go back to Africa. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that Black people need to first have a sense of community. You see, every other ethnic group in this country, they all have community, right? Look at the Asians. When they come over here, they work together. They do business amongst themselves. When you go into the Black community, you see all these businesses that are set up by other ethnic groups. For instance, the hair care product industry. You see lots and lots of hair care stores, beauty supply stores in the Black community that are owned by Asians. Now, these beauty supply shops who are owned by Asians, they do business with other Asians. They don't do business with you. They will sell to you, but they will not do business with you. And that is the reason, one of the reasons why we are failing, because we don't grasp simple concepts. Like, for instance, the concept of the economics of scale. We don't grasp these concepts. Okay, community economics. We don't grasp these concepts. These are things that Dr. Claude Anderson talks about. Okay, when we learn how to do business with ourselves, when we do business with ourselves and we generate income amongst ourselves, then we develop some power, some economic power. Once we develop the economic power, then we go and buy us a politician, and then we will develop the political power. So now we can influence some change. We can affect some change in our community. Okay? And then we can start, once we develop this economic power, we develop this political power, now we can start educating our children. Because right now, what do? We allow the oppressor to educate our children. This is integration. Integration means you allow the people who oppress you, the system that oppresses you, to educate your children. What's intelligent about that? No. Intelligence, logic dictates that you would not allow your oppressor to educate your children, but that you should educate your children.
Man, that shit sound good.
Go ahead, Reggie.
No, go ahead, Troy. I was about to say he's speaking all this shit. Ain't nothing wrong with your kids going to white schools to be educated on shit for the future, because it's white kids sitting in those same goddamn classrooms gaining the same type of knowledge. So, dude,
And he
you
went
have
to a white school.
And he went to a white school. Like I said, it took an experience. That's why he can't give me his experiences of dealing with racism and checking it. It didn't come into where he tried to fit in with white folks and they kicked him in his ass, said, hey, you getting a little bit too comfortable around us. Go to your own. And this is where he started picking up wanting to learn his own Black shit.
I just found that crazy that he said he's educated. He got that good education from the white school.
Yeah, I was gonna say, fight doctor.
The educated I got from the education I got from the system, the education that I got from the system was not worth a damn. I did not become educated until I learned how to educate myself. When I learned how to read books that mattered, that told the true story, because the education that I received.
How'd you learn how to read?
I learned how to read.
How'd you find those books?
I went to an all-black elementary school where I learned how to read. So black people taught me how to read.
Okay. But you went to high school, but you was
I learned how
to
read at home.
But that white high school, that curriculum was what they told you it was going to be. You couldn't go in there and say, I learned this on my own and passed the test. The
education I received in high school was nonsense. It was nonsensical. Education I received in college was nonsensical. I did not receive a real.
What college did you go to?
I went to IIT.
What's that?
Illinois Institute of Technology.
Is that a HBCU?
Hell no.
Why not? Why you ain't go to it?
IIT is the MIT of the Midwest. That's where I went to school.
Oh man, get the fuck out of here, dude. You fucking a whitewashed black dude who want to be militant and shit. You want to be Howie P. Newton, but you motherfucking. But you fucking. What's Clayton Braxton? That's who the hell this dude is, man. Get that.
Carlton, brother. Yeah.
Yeah, he like Clayton Braxton when he played in Hoodlum, like struggling to play that gangster shit.
I'm the one who knows who Fela Kuti is. You're the Negro who doesn't even know how to spell the man's name.
Let me call him James Brown, though. I love James Brown.
Right.
He's not.
Fela Kuti is known as the James Brown of Africa.
Yeah, okay, right. But that's a bad example. James Brown wasn't about to write any legislation over here. Like, that's a terrible example.
Okay, fight doctor.
James Brown was very influential. James Brown was very influential in the civil rights.
He didn't sign no laws, though. He couldn't sign no laws.
Again, that's part of the problem.
Okay.
So, fight doctor, I just want to jump in real quick, and just because I was listening to your plan, I was being quiet, listening to your plan. You said you have to buy, the power, as far as the politicians go. Then you said you start with history and things like that. Okay, I tell you where that's flawed. Anytime you could buy someone, guess what? Someone else can come right behind you and buy them as well. You have to build it. You can't buy power. You have to build power. Fight doctor. Because if you could just pay someone,
I'm agreeing with
you. Understand what I'm saying? Okay. Well, calm down because I'm not done. I'm not done. Let me finish. Then the second thing you said to start with history. In time, you could teach history. What you have to teach them is why we're building now. Why we're, you have to teach them about the now first, and then tell them how the history actually led you to the now that you are building towards. You don't start with history because no one's going to listen to you. To be very honest with you, you understand me? And I think Reggie asked you a couple of times about your experiences. You never answered, and Mark asked you, "What do you do for a living?" and you never answered. So if you wouldn't mind answering those two questions.
So what are my experiences? So when I was in high school, I sat in the back of the class. I went to Auburn High School. I sat in the back of the class. Right?
I know it.
So that was my experience in high school. I sat in the back of the class.
That's it. Did you experience racism in high school?
I sat in the back of the class. What do you think that means?
I don't
know.
Like it's the same thing as sitting on the back of the bus.
No. I think he asked your experiences as far as life goes and dealing with some of the things you're talking about. Because you always come on and say house nigga this plantation. Okay, take someone like me. Since the age of 12, I've been harassed by police because I fit the description. Right? Those are the. I can't speak for Reggie, but I think that's what he wants to find out. And again, Mark,
he asked, how did he check the racism? Like when he was dealing with it, because he said checking those white folks that's talking to you crazy. Like, what happened at high school when you were sitting in the back of the class? Did you say, "Fuck this"? I ain't sitting in the back of the class. I want to be up front. I can't see, teacher. Shit, I want to learn. Like, how did you deal with the racism, or did you just sit there and take it?
When I was in high school, I didn't know any better.
Fair enough.
I didn't know any better because my mind was.
You didn't know what to do, or you didn't know you were being treated unfairly.
I had not been properly equipped with how you deal with white supremacy, how you deal with
your parents tell you. Mind. Did you talk to your mom or your dad?
They didn't know because they were products of the same westernized mind. So they didn't.
There's no such thing as white. There's no such thing as white supremacy either, because if you're supreme over someone at the moment, all that means is that they actually were supreme over you before and you found a way to conquer them. That's all that means. There's no such thing as white supremacy at all. No.
Facts,
I'm
Troy.
agreeing
That's
with
why I
you.
be trying to tell people all the time.
I'm agreeing with you. The idea of white supremacy is foolishness. It doesn't make any sense. It does not exist.
So stop
However,
using the word.
The problem is that some Negroes, like you, sir, buy into the idea of white supremacy. So in your mind, it exists. Now, me, I understand that white supremacy does not exist. And more importantly, I understand why it does not exist. Something that a topic on which you are thoroughly clueless, because you know nothing about your history. All you know is what your oppressor has told you. That's the reason why you speak the oppressor's language, know nothing about your own. You comprehend the oppressor's history, know nothing about your own. You practice the oppressor's religion, know nothing about
what's
your own.
Your language? What's your other language you speak? I'm sorry, Fight Dot. I had to ask.
And the tribe you come from.
I speak English.
No, I'm saying, but what's the
Malibuism.
No, the other language. When you said, "Cause we speak those," we both speak English, but that's the oppressor's language. What's the other language you speak?
So I'm actually
Malibuish English.
So I actually
I thought that was a legit question. Go ahead, sir.
I comprehend a little Hebrew. I comprehend a little Medunetcher. All right. I comprehend a little Yoruba.
Can you say anything to it in any of these languages? Like,
I give you an example.
So, like what you're watching Breaking Beats with Marq Nash.
So now there is a ruler of the Nile Valley, and his throne name was Usama Atra Setepenra Neptui Sare. That was his name.
Yeah, but that's a name though. That's like a sin.
Oh, that was his title.
Yeah. But here's the thing, Fight Doctor. Do you understand how that comes across? When you say we speak the oppressor's language, but you don't know any of these languages.
I told you I comprehend some Hebrew, I comprehend some Medunetcher, I comprehend some Yoruba. I didn't say I was fluent, but I do comprehend these languages.
So you're not fluent in
they work.
But you are fluent in the oppressor's language, though.
Yes,
English.
I'm fluent in English. Yes, I am.
The oppressor's language.
That's right.
Fair enough. Go ahead.
And what's your tribe? No, you don't. And what's your tribe? Because you constantly say that you don't know your own people. So you know what tribe? Like for me, I'm actually Yoruba. I found that out. I'm actually Yoruba. I don't know how to speak the language, but I am Yoruba, right?
So most of the Africans who were kidnapped from the continent and brought to the New World most of them came from that Nigeria area. So most of us would be Yoruba or Igbo or Hausa. But then, we actually come from all over the continent. But most of us came from that area around Nigeria. So in that area, in that region, you have the Ga, you have the Yoruba, the Igbo. Those are some of the people who would have come out of that area.
Do you have any plans on moving back to Africa? Because you talk a lot about Africa. Do you have any plans on moving back over there?
I've given it some thought.
How old are you, Fight Doctor? How old are you, Fight Doctor?
I'll be 50 in a few months.
Do you have anything tying you here, like little children or something, or
kids, grandparents, parents?
You ever thought about taking them with you, or just taking,
I doubt that they would want. I would doubt that they would want to come.
Fair enough. Hey, when you was in the school and you said you was experiencing racism, did they? Was it like just you had to sit there, or was it they were actually calling you names and things like that? Like,
so there are many different ways that racism is expressed.
I was curious about that specifically, though. Was it specific?
It's not just when white people call you nigger. Okay, that ain't.
Fight Doctor. Listen to me. You're not teaching me nothing new. I just wanted to know specifically about that. Did they call you names? Yes or no?
But see, no.
Okay.
No. Okay. But see, here's the problem. See, racism is practiced in it has many different forms. There's
absolutely
overt racism, then there's covert racism.
Absolutely, right? I understand completely.
And the problem is that most of us don't recognize it because we've been integrated.
But sometimes it may not even be there, Fight Doctor.
Okay, all right, I'm agreeing. Everything isn't racist.
But Fight Doctor, the reason why I asked you specifically about the name calling, because often I've been quiet tonight. Some of the reason I just wanted brothers to work it out and they have the debate and like to give people an opportunity to speak. But sometimes I'm one of those guys. I'll sit back and see what happens and how far is this gonna go. You did a lot of name calling tonight. Like you took the conversation somewhere else. And for you to be, I believe you're the oldest person on the panel. I'm truly disappointed, to say the least, that you took that road. That keep like pointing and poking the jabs. It's one thing for you and Reggie to have a different point of opinion, but you have been like a antagonist throughout the whole conversation, and it hasn't painted you in the best light when certain information was presented towards you. It's just it's not gonna look good on the playback. Just giving you fair warning. Fair warning.
Okay,
it
so
was quite
so,
embarrassing that
so
that you
Mr.
took
Owens
that.
wants to live on Fantasy Island. That's fine. If you wish to live on Fantasy Island, continue, please. It just needs more money.
I got you like an FBI profiler, man. I knew everything about you as soon as you hopped on and spoke.
How can you know everything about me? You don't know everything about yourself. I mean,
I'm
the
the
one who had to
FBI,
tell you.
brother.
I'm the one who had to tell you how to spell Fela Kuti. Who you
That-
didn't even
which
know who
is
the man
James
was
Brown.
before I told you who he was.
Technically, which is the equivalent to James Brown.
No.
And you know, it's a funny thing. I listened to Fela Kuti's music. I didn't know who he was because he's from Africa, but I listened to his music, and even to this point of knowing who his name is now, he really serves no purpose. But for me to say,
well, if he
made
serves
some
no
good
purpose, then why do you
music.
listen to his music? If
He
he
makes
serves no
because
purpose, then why do you listen to his music?
listen, because
It's
I like live
revolutionary.
presentation. I like live presentation of music, and it was a live presentation of music. That was it.
Is he out there marching for justice? Like, is he getting laws signed? Like, he feeding people? Like, what is he doing?
He
Like,
was
I
doing
don't
more of
know.
like what you
I
seen.
would invite you.
Remember when Bob Marley united the two factions over in Jamaica? He was doing that kind of stuff, and even that thing over in Jamaica was ignorant that these Jamaicans over there been split by two white leaders of the country, and that's basically all Fela Kuti was doing.
Fair enough.
How can you even know what Fela Kuti was doing? You didn't even know his name before 2 seconds ago.
But I know who he is, and I remember the story.
And I'm the one that's in
So
checkmate.
stop.
And again, I'm the one that's in checkmate. But you talking about what Fela Kuti was doing some 40, 50 years ago, but you didn't know his name until 2 seconds ago. Negro, please.
I knew who he was. What are you talking about? I just didn't know his name.
How can you know
But
who
when
he
you
was?
start describing him, listen, when you start describing him, then I was like,
how can you know who he was when you did not even know his name? Negro,
that's
please.
why I asked you to spell his name, because the more you got to talking about him, I was like, I know who this guy is, and he happened to be who I. Yes, I did, dude. Yes, I did.
Look,
because as soon as I told you to spell his
have it on
name,
tape. We
I
have it
was
on
like,
tape.
rewind it, because I'm like, I know who this guy is.
How could you know who he is? You didn't even know who he was.
I don't know people's names. There's just like there's movies.
Right.
There's like there's movies
You don't
I
know
have
people's
watched.
names
I may
because you
not
don't
know
know
the
who the
name of the
people are.
movies.
That's
Like,
the reason
stop
why
it,
you don't know
dude.
people's names, because you don't know who they are. You did not know who Fela Kuti
I
was.
did. Marq Nash didn't know. But if you play the song, a certain song, I might be like, oh, I know the record. Sometimes it's like that with me with music. I might not know the person's name, but I know the song.
But that's typical of the slave mentality.
Because I don't remember.
You can know everything about your oppressor. You can know all about his history. You can know all about his heroes. You can know all about his historical figures. All right. You can know all about his language. You can know all about his religion. But anything having to do with what you were doing before you were brought over here, you're clueless.
How many Beatles albums you on? How many Beatles albums you on?
That's funny.
Hey,
it's serious. How many Beatles albums you on? What kind of music you listen to back in the day? Like, stop it, man.
I'm really curious about his. What's your religion like? When you said we do the press, but that's one of the worst crimes that was done though. Fight Doctor, they stripped you of your language, they stripped you of your history and things of that nature. I get it. In 2021, you can go out there and try to find it, but you don't. It's often a disconnection with the people here from the continent, and they trying to build up their own. Some would say how many 400 or 500 years behind. White folks even tell you that. But at the end of the day, how do we find that? And what is your religion, and how did you find that? Your original religion and all of that.
I have no religion.
Oh, so is that worse than having having no faith and no belief system?
what I have
It's
is
worse than
spirituality.
dealing with the oppressors.
What I have is spirituality. Now
So you do have some moral compass, right?
Of course.
Do you have a higher power that you lean to and you get on your knees and you seek guidance from?
That's religion. I have no religion.
Okay.
I have no religion. All right. That's religion. And I don't think in those terms because that's the westernized. See, religion is a Western concept. Okay. And like I said, Western civilization is built upon a foundation of ignorance. It's not what I say. That's what Fela Kuti, the music who you claim to listen to, that's what he says.
I ain't say I claim to listen to you.
I'm talking to Mr. Owens, who's still on the plantation.
Okay, we'll fight Doctor, right? I actually just listened to his music, man, and I saved it. I'm going to listen to it later on. It's good stuff. But I just want to jump in about something you just answered a question for Mark. You said that you don't believe in a higher power, but you're spiritual.
No, I didn't say I didn't believe in higher power. I said all these things he's talking about.
You got to get closer to your phone or whatever because you sound low.
No, I said I didn't answer the question regarding a higher power. All right, because Mark was going into some things that define religion or that are symptoms of religion, and religion is a Western.
But you said you're spiritual, right?
I'm spiritual.
So do you do spirit rituals? Because that's what spiritual is. So what are your spirit rituals that you do?
No, when you're spirit, you don't need spirit. No, again, the spirit ritual, that's religion. That's a Western concept. Okay?
What is the? I'll look it up.
That is a Western concept, and spiritual does not mean spirit ritual. No.
But what do you do with your spirit? How do you express your spirituality? How about that?
Well, so
it sounds like you just go day to day and just say,
simple,
man,
there are very simple concepts. Like for instance, the concept of Ma'at. That's one.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
The concept of Ma'at.
Which is what?
The concept of truth, justice, righteousness, order. Ma'at.
How I spell that?
M-A''A'-T.
M-A''A'.
I would suggest you look it up.
Looking it up right now, boss. Go ahead.
It is a very simple concept that at the same time is very complex. But
this was a goddess of truth. This was a goddess of truth, justice, balance, and most importantly, order. Is this true? Is this what you mean, the Maya?
So it is a concept. Now,
no. This is a goddess. When that's the first thing to pop up.
Hold on a second. Wait, wait a minute. Now,
ancient Egypt, though, right? Egyptian goddess.
Hold on. Let me explain. All right. Now, let me give you the 411. Now, again, Western civilization is built upon a foundation of ignorance. Now, the Western civilized mind sees things from without and wants to put it inside of a box so that it will fit within the Western framework. Ma'at is one of these things. All right. Ma'at is a principle, a concept. It is not a goddess.
Well, you told me to look it up. And when I look it up, it says Ma'at was the goddess of truth, justice, and balance, and most importantly, order. Ma'at was often considered to be the daughter of Ra and was married to, Thoth, god of wisdom. However, Ma'at was more than just a goddess to the ancient Egyptians. She represented the crucial concept of how the universe was maintained.
Okay, now, what is the source of that information? Where'd you get that from?
As soon as I typed in Google, I typed in Ma'at definition.
And where's the definition come from?
It just says Ma'at definition. This is
okay. So
let me see. It's the first thing to pop up. I didn't even click on nothing. I just let the first Bible.
So the source of this information is coming from someone who fails to comprehend the civilization.
I go right here. Okay, here we go. World History Encyclopedia.
Okay, the World History Encyclopedia. Whoever wrote that, all right.
Same thing. Let me go to another one.
It comes from a source that fails to comprehend the civilization that produced Ma'at. If you wish to understand Ma'at, then you need to go back to the source, which is the civilization that produced Ma'at.
Egyptian culture?
There is no such thing as Egypt.
Okay.
Egypt does not exist.
Okay.
There's never been a place.
You can fly. Yeah, but right now in 2021, they call it Egypt now, right?
So that word Egypt is a Greek word.
Right. But that's what the passport says. You know what I mean? Those are some.
So see, I
don't want to go too far before this.
But see,
Ma'at definition.
We need to have a proper understanding.
I'm just telling you the first 10, 15 things.
But we need to have a proper understanding. Now, Egypt is a Greek word.
You told me to look it up. I'm telling you what came up when I looked it up, and you seem like you mad.
Egypt is a Greek word. Where's Greece?
I'm not good in geography. You tell me, man. I'm telling you,
Greece,
because last time you
Greece
told
is
me
in
to look up
Southern
something,
Europe.
I Googled it. You telling
Yeah.
me Google is wrong on all
Greece
of
is
these
in Southern Europe.
definitions.
Greece is in Southern Europe. So you are using a Greek word
This dude
to
crazy,
refer
man.
to a
Killing me, bro.
landmass that's on the African continent. Does that make any sense?
Hell no. I'm just asking. I already told you don't make no
There
sense.
is no such place as Egypt. It does not exist.
You're moving the goalposts, my brother. You asked me to Google it. I Google it. I'm telling you what it said. You're telling me it's wrong. Then you said first we got to understand the culture where the word come from. But I'm telling you what everything says. This is an Egyptian goddess of truth, justice, and honor. They changed the wording around, and it's the same everywhere. Everybody in the chat, do your own Googles. MA''AT.
Once again, you accept everything that your oppressor tells you.
No, you told me to look it up.
So,
You just said it.
where are the pyramids then? Since there's no Egypt, I'm curious.
Hold
where are the
stop,
pyramids?
stop. Hold on.
Yes, I know
where was I gonna look it up at? Then Fight Doctor, if not Google. Since I'm using the
go back
press
to
and
the
stuff.
source.
No, but how would I look it up right now? I gotta fly to an Egypt that don't exist.
You don't have to do that.
Where do I look it up at?
Your ancestors left plenty of literature.
I'm asking you right now. I don't know what my ancestors
they explained.
This guy right
in their own words.
This guy can't answer questions straight up, man. That shit is annoying, Fight Doctor. Like you talk in circles and loops. You do not talk to people open and direct. You do not answer questions openly and direct, which is like draining. It's entertaining to a degree, but then it starts getting draining. Like this guy's asking you an open, direct question. I Google something. You tell me to Google it. You don't like the answer. Now I promise you said, do you know who that is? Well, I guess you said, I guess you look it up or something. Where else would I look it up at right now, Fight Doctor?
Go back to the source.
Which is what? Because all the sources are you the source that I'm going to right now. You can't tell me.
So in this place that you refer to as Egypt, they have tablets and they have writings carved in stone where they explain everything that you need to know. Start there.
Where would you find those tablets, Fight Doctor?
They're in Kim, ancient Kim.
So I gotta go there. I can't use the Google for that to read.
No, they've got pictures.
On Google, can I use that?
They got pictures wherever you can find the pictures. Okay.
I'm saying, but can I use Google? Because that's where I'm gonna get it from. Because
that's
the oppressor shit that I just used for the definitions.
You can use Google.
All right, well, gentlemen. Gentlemen, it is.
We gotta use the oppressor's platform to find this shit.
All I know is that it's been a pleasure. Fight Doctor. Fight Doctor, you need to stop sitting in the back of the class. Move up to the front of the class. Hey, y'all have a good night. I gotta get some damn sleep. I'm tired.
Shout out to Troy Graham.
Absolutely. Fight Doctor, I give you the let you speak, and I give Reggie Owens the last word.
I've said everything I need to say. Okay, it's simple arithmetic. Okay, simple arithmetic. Integration, bad idea. What you need to do is go back to your source, have understanding of where you come from, your place in the world, understand your history. Okay, and then you can meet the oppressor on equal terms. But how are you gonna integrate when you don't even integrate with something that is set up to destroy you? How does that make sense? How does that make sense? That doesn't make sense. It's not intelligence. It's not thinking. Okay, Western civilization wasn't set up for you to succeed. No, it was set up to oppress you, which is what it's been doing for the last 500 years. And you want to integrate with that? Nonsense.
You went to a white school, then a white college, and you make a lot of money, Fight Doctor. You are successful. You live in the American dream. So this is befuddling to me that when you say these things, I'm like, nigga, you went to the whitest of the whites and got the best of the best, and now your job is one of the best jobs. You're doing so good that you can work a job and own a company. That's how successful you are in this white oppression. So it kind of, yeah, man. I'm sorry. But Reggie Owens, you got the last word.
Man, Fight Doctor is just who I said he was. You were just who I said you was. And it's common, like I said, These people, black folks who didn't try to mingle, rub shoulders, been integrated into white systems, and they get a point in life when they think they've been accepted in those societies and they get rejected, maybe passed up on one promotion. That now, like, let me go read up on my own people. I'm tired of this European shit because you know so much about Europeans. You probably know about Queen Elizabeth, all that shit, the dynasties over there. You know all the Beatles records and Leonard Skinner and all that shit. And now you want to become into terms of blackness, and you probably did this shit in your mid-30s during these, what do they call, midlife crisis points in life. Like you was everything I said you was, and you proved it. This is easy profiling of individuals who like to talk. All this integration has been the worst thing for us. When I hear people talk like that, I know exactly where they get this shit from. And it's just regurgitated bullshit they never thought of. But that's all I got. And it's time for black folks to start thinking, to start moving forward and learning this advanced shit taking place in this current Western age, which dominates the damn globe. So regardless if you want to paint a white picture on it, you can put your black face on it. Knowledge is knowledge. That's all I got.
Absolutely. Well, as always, my guests will get the last word. I got a Cash App. Let me see. Who is this from? Sorry, it's slow. Terry St. John, thank you so much for the $10 Cash App. Where's the drop at for the $10 Cash App? Where are you at? Boom, here you go. Thank you so much.
A 10, a 10, a 10, a fucking 10.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your energy. Remember, dreams require sleep. Goals require effort. Go out there and get your goals. I'm about to get some sleep. I see y'all. I think my guy Kyle at the boxing session is cooking right now. So go check him out. Let him know Marq Nash sent you from the neighborhood. I see y'all tomorrow. We're later on today at 10 p.m. 10 p.m. I will see y'all at 10 p.m. Remember, dreams require sleep. I already said that, right? Yeah. Look, y'all, this is a hip-hop political sports show with a comedy twist. We like to let the jokes fly because life is serious enough. Long as we keep it right here on this Wi-Fi, you know what I'm saying? It always can be worked out. I love y'all. I see y'all in a couple hours, 10 p.m. tonight. Peace.
This that squad sound.